8 applicants are shown preparing for a hiring exam for a lucrative corporate position at the start of the film. Before entering the test room, some candidates make minor cosmetic adjustments, while others encourage themselves with words of encouragement. In a poorly lighted space, each candidate's desk is arranged consistently throughout the room. In order to keep an eye on their activities, it also features cameras. The candidates are clearly uneasy when a security with a gun enters the room after the 8 of them have taken their seats. A man who merely identifies himself as the invigilator and doesn't reveal his name follows him. After expressing regret for the difficulties they have had to get to this point, he informs them that the candidates have advanced to the final round of interviews after passing all prior hiring exams. They will earn the jobs of their dreams if they pass this final exam. According to the test's rule, the invigilator asserts that candidates are expected to abide solely by the exam's rules and that no federal laws apply within the exam room. They are not permitted to speak to the invigilator or the guard. They will also be eliminated if they purposefully or unintentionally destroy the paper and leave the room for whatever reason. The test will take the candidate 80 minutes to finish. On the page in front of them, there is just one question that they must respond to. After that, the invigilator asks whether they have any questions. He wishes them luck, sets the timer, and leaves when no one responds. When the contestants flip their papers over, they discover that they are entirely blank. They all exchange bewildered glances. They become increasingly anxious over time. Because she believes she is qualified for the position, candidate number 2 begins writing on her paper. She ruins her paper, so the guard is instructed to toss her out once the room's camera zooms in on it. As the guard locks the doors behind her, number 2 pleads for another opportunity. After some time, number 5 understands that they are allowed to speak to each other even though the rule states they are not allowed to speak to the guard or the invigilator. He conveys the same message to the others, leading them to assume that they must collaborate to identify the question before they can determine the solution. The group talks about a number of strategies to pass the test, but they are all equally perplexed. The front runner doesn't say a word during this. When one man tries to explain himself, number 5 advises that they give each other pet names to avoid having to disclose who they really are. Since he hasn't yet spoken, he continues by naming the number 1, Deaf. After that, the boys are given the names Brown, Black, and White based on their race, and the girls are given the names Blonde, Brunette, and Dark based on the color of their hair. White then advises that since there is no rule that states that they cannot, they should stand up from their seats. Taking a chance, he stands up. To the delight of all, the guard remains stationary, allowing them to move freely. Dark thinks that a watermark or invisible ink is used to write the questions on paper. Despite their lack of knowledge, they all agree to test the notion. After that, Dark gets up and checks the paper for writing using the room's lights. But there's nothing to see. Because the question might be in just one of them, she nonetheless urges that everyone check their own. With the exception of the deaf, who remains silent in his seat, everyone follows her instructions. White picks up his paper and examines it under the lamp. Black said the writings might be apparent in X-rays or UV rays when they don't receive any results. After that, the group searches for a switchboard to determine if it has the ability to switch on various types of lights. When they are unable to locate one, they begin searching for the light source on their own. Deaf remains apprehensively seated and does not assist them in any way. In the room, Blonde discovers emergency light strips. However, because there are no switches, the team must destroy every other light bulb in order to cause an emergency and turn on the lights. The room's emergency black light suddenly becomes blue after all the light bulbs have been broken. Except for the deaf, everyone begins searching the paper for the question. However, their inability to see the question disappoints them once more. Since they aren't lit, Brunette requests that everyone take off the first layer of the strip light. UV rays could result from this, which would be beneficial to them. The strips are broken by the woman's heels, exposing another type of light. They are disappointed once more, though, as these lights are also broken. There are now just 60 minutes remaining for the group. A displeased White requests that everyone consider other options. White notes that since number 2's work is already invalidated, they can do anything to it while they discuss ideas. They assemble around her desk and attempt to trace the paper using a pencil. Still, no query is raised. After that, White rips her paper into pieces so they can use them to try out various techniques. He next tests whether one of the papers is liquid activated by peeing on it. That doesn't work either, though. After hearing the scream of the deaf, Black and White end their intense dispute on what to do next. While the others laugh at him, he tears quietly in his chair. The man then begins to babble in French. He says that the paper mirrors their picture and asks them if they perceive anything in it. They resume their discussion of concepts without giving his rambling much thought. When Brown talks, everyone stops talking. He puts up his own theory, asserting that they are participating in a betting show rather than an exam. The company's board members are only there to amuse themselves. They have staked their money on who will lose under duress. Although Brown claims that money is the least of the board members' worries, Dark believes that they likely have more important things to do with their time. The board members most likely enjoy taking chances because of the wealth they possess. Everybody now shares their own thoughts. Some suggest this may be the CEO, while others say it could be the invigilator. Under pressed, they start insulting one another. Brunette asserts with assurance that no one is observing them because the CEO actively participates in the business. He has authority over everyone and all of the company's rights. She obviously knows more about the business than everyone else. How does she know so much about the CEO? Brown asks. As it turns out, Brunette has never met the CEO but is already employed by the company in HR. She came here after applying for a more senior position. White then discloses that he received an offer of employment after being headhunted. The others, however, claim to have applied for it. But they all have one thing in common. They were instructed not to ask any questions, so they don't know anything about the business or what it does. Brunette goes on to say that they are applying to work for Birog, a well-known pharmaceutical company worth millions of dollars. They were the first to discover the remedy when a pandemic struck young people worldwide a few years ago. Thanks to its CEO, they currently generate $20 billion in revenue annually. Black abruptly implies that the business may have discovered a treatment for the most recent fatal illness that has been claiming millions of lives worldwide. Suddenly interested, Dark asks Black more questions. White becomes dubious of this and inquires as to if Dark has contracted the infection as well. Dark rejects the issue and claims she isn't. She walks up to the guard and, without speaking to him, takes a lighter out of his pocket to divert attention from herself. She looks at the fire alarm after that. Since water may erode the writing on the paper, the group intends to use the lighter to activate the sprinkler. Dark does this by climbing up on a chair, but he avoids the fire alarm. She receives a rolled piece of paper from White, which she lights up and uses to set off the alarm. Water soon begins to pour, yet the documents remain unchanged. The guard abruptly approaches the group. Dark immediately shows the paper to be hers as she unfolds it in her palm. In order to weaken the competition, White had deceived her. The guard pulls Dark away. A furious Black then declares that he will punch out the white lights. As a result, the group figures are voice-activated and the lights go out. When Deaf begins to cry again, sitting quietly in front of him, White coerces the unfortunate man into shredding and devouring his own paper. Deaf is approached by the guard, who also dismisses him. There are now just 5 contestants remaining. Black disparages White for being a terrible person, while White maintains that they should give him credit for removing their rivals. Additionally, he asserts that he is aware of the question, but chooses not to share it with the others. Black throws a single punch in a fit of wrath and knocks him out. After that, the group covers his lips with a tie and binds him to a seat. White becomes conscious after some time. He begs for his prescription after Brunette takes off his gag, stating that he has the illness too and needs to take medication every hour to survive. Back looks in his pocket for medications, but he can't locate any. The group concludes from this that White is merely fabricating excuses in order to get him released. White asserts that one of them has taken the medication, though, and if they return it, he would explain the question. He soon passes out once more and begins to shake. Some people think he's acting, but Black claims the infection is causing him to have seizures. They begin searching the room for the medicine he mentioned, but they are unsuccessful. They check each other for the pill as the countdown approaches the 15-minute mark. When she discovers the pill adhered to a piece of chewing gum beneath Brown's table, Brunette's suspicion that he took it is validated. Brown throws it into a vent when she tries to feed it to White. A tense brunette approaches the camera and begs the invigilator to save the man while the others attempt to extract it. However, she is instantly disqualified because she spoke with the invigilator. After she leaves, Blonde saves White's life by pulling out the pill with a bobby pin. In the process, she unties him as well. Everyone asks him for the response he promised after he gets better. White explains that the candidates themselves are the answers. White believes that there is no question and that the person who is left at the end is the answer, despite the fact that they have been looking for one all this time. The others believe him, but White rushes to the guard to retrieve the gun before they can do anything. Pushing him away, Black takes the revolver for himself. He aims it at White, who asserts with assurance that he will not shoot anyone. He grabs the gun and attacks Black at the same time. He discovers the gun has fingerprint recognition just as he is ready to use it, though. White then points the rifle at the others while wearing the guard. In order to gain the job, he threatens everyone to leave the room alone. Brown purposefully leaves without retaliating out of fear of being shot. Blonde cry "lights out" as she cautiously makes her way outside. White starts shooting in all directions as the room turns completely dark. Black, who has a bullet wound in his chest, lies limp on the floor when the lights return. Blonde still has a foot inside the room, as White notices when he looks around. He sees that the timer has stopped just as he is ready to shoot her. White now approaches the camera to inform the invigilator that he has won the contest. He is approached by the guard, who shows him the time. White is shocked to learn that there are still 20 seconds remaining and that speaking with the invigilator disqualifies him. It is subsequently disclosed that while they were occupied with other topics, Def had altered the time. Finally, the lone remaining person is Blonde. She enters the room and retrieves the glasses that fell off Def during his removal. She looks at the paper with those and notices that Question 1 is written on it. To her complete astonishment, Def walks into the room and reveals that he is the company's CEO and was there to monitor everyone. Blonde approaches him and declines. When they see that she has answered the question correctly and passed the test, the CEO and the invigilator smile. As it happens, the only question they had to respond to was the one that the invigilator posed at the start of the test: if they had any questions. The purpose of the entire test was to gauge the candidate's level of intelligence and focus. Blonde is hired to be the CEO's secretary, but she declines the position since she doesn't want to work for a company that murders people. According to the invigilator, Black is not actually dead, and the bullet that struck him is actually a capsule that penetrates the body and cures the wound. It's actually magical. They have lately created a miracle medication that can treat any illness in the globe. Blonde finally takes the position, and the film concludes with her shaking hands with the CEO. Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification to watch more interesting videos like this. Thanks for watching.